for those of you who are left here, how many of you guys do have, just to get a general idea, have partnerships now in your business that you're using? And how many are happy with them? So today's topic, I mean, you know, there's many challenging things to running a successful company, and a key component of them is partnerships. Yet it seems like it's those one things that a lot of companies really struggle with. And so today we've got 4 seasoned experts and executives here that are from companies that have different kind of philosophies and methodologies about creating partnerships. And so what we hope to do today is kind of get an overview of what their philosophies are, what have made them successful, what are the challenges, and what are some key things of nuggets that they would share that they wish they knew back in the beginning that they know now in their approach to partnership. So I think to get things kicked off, what I'd like to do is we'll start with Lou down at the end. And Lou, why don't you introduce yourself, introduce your company, and your basic kind of philosophy around partnerships at Scribe.
All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lou Guercia. I'm the CEO of Scribe Software. And Scribe is a New Hampshire-based company that is dedicated to building software for data integration. And the data integration is particularly important for driving business value across the various lines of business where you have sales, marketing, finance, support. Those are the 4 key areas of a business that create customer data that interface with customers. And so we're dedicated to helping businesses get the maximum value out of the movement of that data to drive business value. So we have both a software product and a cloud service. We market primarily through systems integrators and ISVs. So that's sort of the overview on our business. But my philosophy, or my sort of 3 guideposts on partnering is, first off, I'm a big believer in being a partner and not a vendor. So for me, a partner is someone, if you really look at the definition of it literally, it's 2 parties that have shared risks and shared upside. A vendor is someone that provides goods and services for a price. So for me, I won't touch any partnership where I'm not really in it as a partner. I don't want to be a vendor. Number 2 is I truly believe in win-win. So I really want to make sure that, you know, the bar, I don't want to charge people a lot of money to use my service. I want it to be sort of a low bar of entry so that we win together. So I think that's really key. I think there's trust in a partnership when both parties invest. And then I think the third thing would be that I'm a real stickler about having gives and gets. You know, I think that when you are sharing in the upside and the downside of a partnership, it's really key that you document what it is you're trying to accomplish from an offering point of view and what you're going to do together to launch it, to get those first several key wins that you need to get a little air under the wings of the partnership. So that's basically.
Perfect. Thank you, Lou. Rado?
Rado Kotorov. I'm a Chief Innovation Officer and Vice President of Global Marketing, Product Marketing, and Information Builders. We've been in the software business for 40 years, and we do 3 things: integration, data integrity, and business intelligence. And we help companies to access and manage their data assets, regardless where they are, in the cloud, on-premise, in any kind of exotic data systems. But we also, to make the data more meaningful, we help these organizations, help everybody within the organization make better decisions. I don't know anybody collecting data just for the sake of data collection, and I don't know anybody who is doing analytics as a hobby. So all of this is purpose-driven towards the end of making better decisions. And when we say this, our philosophy is that you need to approach it holistically. Every decision maker has a different way of making decisions and a different way of getting the information that's relevant for their decisions. So we look at it from segmenting it, really like a retailer, when we look at the advanced analysts who need to do predictive analytics and give them the tools, data scientists who need advanced visualization, and et cetera, to the people who need to make on-the-job decision-making, easy-to-use info apps for on-the-job decision-making. And we believe that this entire process and this business about decision-making is driven by one thing. If you ask every CEO what's the top priority on their mind, they would tell you stock growth, the stock valuation, the company valuation growth, and aligning the company culture with the company strategy. And today, key to align these two factors is not just policy, but it is fact-based decision-making, giving the information to all of these employees so they can look at the facts, they can look at the data, and in less than 15 to 30 seconds, make informed decisions about what they need to do. In the BI space, we tended to ignore the worker. We focused for 35 years on the analyst, so there's plenty of tools from Excel to everything else on the analyst. But today we're seeing the big winners are those that actually give to the workers information to make decisions. One of the most quoted application is the Orion UPS application, in which every truck driver saves a mile a day on their trips. And that translates into 50 million savings annually for UPS. So these little kind of things, spreading big applications, is really what we think is driving transformation and higher performance in the organizations. Now, taking it to a partnership, our philosophy about partnerships, and I fully agree with everything that my colleague said here, we treat partnerships as a startups and not as a marriage. And I tend to say this because I've been watching through the years how a lot of people get excited about the partnership, and they get excited about the relationship, and it's all about how good they feel about each other and how many drinks and meals they had together. And that really is a different kind of relationship. We don't need to remember that we're starting with every partnership something new, because every partner understands the technology and the value of the technology relative to their business model and their business needs differently. So we need to, when we approach it, to have this understanding, build a few meaningful wins, like my colleague said, try it, test how the partnership would work. And once we have this knowledge, then scale it up. Anytime we started it from a relationship just perspective, this is something that after the honeymoon just goes drastically wrong. But if we start it with the assumption that we're going to go and learn and fail a couple of times, and we'll back it up with resources, with the idea to win, then we build successful long-term partnerships.
Perfect, thank you. Sharon?
My name is Sharon Gordon, and I work for Birst. I run our alliances organization globally. And Birst is in the business of business intelligence, and we do from end to end the gathering of the data, bringing it together, making sense of it to the knowledge workers in the organization, as well as the analysts, all of the folks that are touching data within a company, which is pretty much everybody, in order to make better decisions. But more than that, I think what we're focused on is helping companies to optimize their business processes across different applications. As we've seen big data grow crazily over the last many, many years, we have data coming in from so many different data sources, both internally, internal applications like your CRM application and your trouble ticketing system and your ERP systems, et cetera, as well as from external sources, from emails and tweets and blogs and et cetera, that it's very important to be able to take all of that data together, look at it from optimizing that business process that you need to optimize in order to drive those results. So if you want to, for instance, understand how certain campaigns in your organization from a marketing perspective are driving actual opportunities that close, and understand the relationship of the cost of that particular lead to opportunity versus the cost of the overall campaign against other campaigns. You can't do that just looking at your marketing system. You have to be able to look at your finance system, you have to be able to look at your sales and CRM systems, and pull that together in a meaningful way. And so that's really what we're in the business to do, is to help to drive that type of consolidation within an organization from a knowledge perspective. From a partnership perspective, when I came to Birst has been around for just about 10 years now, and we only do business intelligence. We started out 100% in the cloud, multi-tenant environment, and so when I started, there was one partner and no partner program a couple of years ago. Today, we have approximately 75 partners in a dozen countries. The philosophy for me really stemmed from my experience of when I came here, I decided the thing that I wanted to make sure is that we didn't do the things that didn't work. So I really focused on all of the things that went bad in my career over the last many years and what I've seen not go so well with regards to partnerships, and made sure to avoid those things. And so I focused on 3 areas. One being collaboration amongst partners themselves. So we have, I think, a pretty interesting community where partners work with other partners to deliver results for customers, to help to augment their own abilities in certain industries and regions. as well as collaboration between the partner organizations and the direct sales organizations, and making sure that that's very copacetic. Making sure that there's collaboration and meaningful understanding from the top level within our organization of how important partnerships are to the growth of our company. The second piece is really ease of doing business. So, companies like many of the partnerships that we have today want to be able to drive fast, and the only way you can move very fast is if you get a lot of the obstacles out of the way and you make it as easy to do business with as possible. So limiting those bars, like Lou talked about, as far as getting into the programs, as well as just easing the path along the way, whether it be paying partners out, whether it be taking orders from customers and making sure that all that goes smoothly, whether it's training of partners and so forth. And then the last one is, of course, making it as lucrative as possible for all parties. So, we need to make sure that everybody's making money, and that comes in the form of not just services, which is a primary thing that partners are making money on, but that they're also making a good deal of money on the product service that we're offering to the marketplace, so that we all are aligned with regards to wanting to drive both the product as well as services into the marketplace in a successful way for customers. And I'd say lastly was that the main thing that we tried to drive was the idea that there is a certain profile of partnership that makes sense for certain organizations. And in order to have that meaningful quid pro quo relationship that we've heard talked about here already, for us, we needed to make sure that the types of organizations we brought in were the right type of profile so that we could both drive forward in a very, very fast manner and in a very successful manner, and not be trying to drive square pegs into round holes. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Perfect. Adam.
My name's Adam Nelson. I lead the channel partnerships team for Dropbox for Business. In terms of Dropbox, we are a cloud storage and sync tool that's used by over 275 million people across the world. So it's a very cool platform for partnerships as you think about what can we do with this massive amount of usage and the resonance with consumers, which is really fantastic. In terms of Dropbox for Business, it's a product that actually is relatively young within Dropbox. We launched the product in February of 2013. So I started Dropbox in August of 2012, and the product wasn't really out yet in the form that it's currently in. But the theory was that you had this usage of Dropbox by individuals who were both using it for their personal documents like photos, tax documents, etc., but also bringing it into the businesses that they were working in and using it to collaborate on key business documents, a lot of Microsoft documents, PDFs, InDesign, big large files that you want to collaborate on across different groups, work remotely from where you are and get the same performance that you'd have as if it was there locally and you were working on a server. So in terms of what it's been like as we've launched the product, it's been a really interesting learning experience, because I think we at the company we're still kind of figuring out where this product market fit was with Dropbox for Business, and then from a partnership perspective, figuring out how we would capitalize on that to then syndicate it out to a group of partners to send it to the market. So we launched a partner program back in June of last year that was really focused on managed service providers, VARs, and IT consultants to get this to market. We have over 750 partners in that program today, and just launched internationally in the EU, Canada, UK, and Australia and New Zealand. So that's really exciting as well. But as we've kind of built that up, we're also looking at more strategic partnerships to address the mid-market and enterprise as our product really changes and moves up into those markets. So we announced in December a strategic partnership with Dell. So they'll be a reseller of ours, bringing Dropbox for Business to their customers. So we kind of have these different flavors of relationships that are still being built out at the same time. And I think my big takeaway on partnerships is make sure there's alignment, and then build a partnership structure in order to really suit the partnership that you're talking about. So for instance, if you were talking about an MSP that has $5 million of revenue and they sell a whole bunch of different products into their customers, they can be a wonderful partner, and you can work with them, and they can provide value-added services that you don't provide. They can bring you to all of their end users, but you also have to have the realistic expectations of what they're going to be able to do, and then structure your partnership or your program in order to recognize that. So I think, I mean, it sounds obvious, but I think kind of figuring out what the economics are, the unit economics are in your program, and then make sure that whatever model you have going forward is kind of recognizing what the market is. One of the biggest questions for us was you know, how do we want to bring this to market, because we really had a whole bunch of different options, and so figuring out where the right fit was going to be among partners, and then putting that product in their hands and seeing what they could deliver was really important.
So to follow up on that, Adam, is like when you launched in June of last year, I think you started with 150 partners. You said you're up to 750. Lou, I think you guys have around 1,200 partners.
We do.
Sharon has 75 partners. I think Rado, I know that you're upwards in the hundreds, if I remember correctly. We're, as full disclosures, CorSource, our business predicates on partnerships, and Birst and IBI are both our top two partners. So I know about their partnerships. But the interesting thing that I'm curious about is you're talking about a breadth of number of partners. So how do you measure success? Like when you sit back or when you report to or go to your boss and say, well, this is what the partnership program has been, how do you measure success? Is it on revenue? Is it on number? Is it on, revenue? Is it on number of partners? Is it on number of leads? How do you do that, especially when you've got so many?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's certainly not number of partners. I mean, it's nice to have reach and breadth in the market, but I think anybody who spends time, particularly in the IT channel, will tell you that you can sign up 1,000 partners who do absolutely nothing, or you could sign up one partner that moves all of your business. So I really do think it's around that alignment, is understanding exactly what you're going to be able to expect from the partner base that you're going after, and then build out a model to make sense. So for us, the biggest items that we think about are, what's our onboarding process look like? How productive are partners once they're onboarded? What are the tools and levers that we have to make partners go from kind of interested and engaged to really outperforming and superstars? What do we define as a superstar? How do we keep on making them more and more effective? So, that's one group of partners. It's certainly if you're just working on alliances and you only have 3 partners, then you're going to be looking at very different metrics, much more as if you were kind of evaluating your own sales team. What's your pipeline look like through this partner?
So I have something to add on that.
Yeah, go for it, Lou.
So, Scribe, our business, we have about somewhere between 75 and 80% of our annual bookings come through partners, right? So data integration is not for the faint of heart. When you want to get more value out of the data and the applications that you have in your business, you may very often turn to a VAR or a systems integrator who has that industry or that workload expertise. So that's a primary route to market for Scribe, is partners. And we're always recruiting. We're very focused on that. We're focused on onboarding, and then enablement is an ongoing activity. So that might be one axis, right? The other axis would be, how are you going to measure it? Well, we don't just measure it based on revenue, although we will create discount incentives and so forth. But what's really equally important to us are things like forecast accuracy. So we will reward based on forecast accuracy. We'll reward based on the number of technical consultants that they get certified. So we want to see them. I mentioned earlier this notion of giving and getting. We give a tremendous amount of content to our partners so that they're able to get very competent using our technology, and we will actually reward them as they progress through their certification. So one thing that we don't do is we don't sign up any partners if they're not coming to us with a closed-won opportunity. So, the idea of saying, oh, let me just go and get a partnership with Scribe in case that comes up, we're like, well, we'll help work with you to close a piece of business, and then that will be the basis. Because you know, there are a lot of these phony partnerships, and who can afford to spend the time? And, you know, I don't want to just spam people and say, oh, we're going to quote unquote nurture partnerships that really don't have a prayer of getting off the ground. So if you come to us with a piece of business, we're going to really spend a lot of time getting you onboarded to find that second or third opportunity. And then if you've been with us for a year or you've been with us for several years, we're going to just start to ratchet up the amount of enablement that we offer you. And so for myself, over the last quarter, I've visited our top 25 partners, and I've been to like 4 countries. Well, I'll have 2 to 4 hour strategy sessions talking about how is the cloud disrupting your business? How are you transforming your business around the cloud? Are you interested in investing with us to build industry-based solutions? And what can we do to develop a joint plan to do that? So you can't do that for everyone, but you know, you can certainly do it with a number of them.
And I think what Lou brings up is very important, and I think having been a company that's involved with a lot of partners, not all partnerships are created equal, and the group that you have up here is much more advanced on the curve than the average partner. So what I'm hearing you say, Lou, and I'm curious, Rado, if you and Sharon feel the same way, but it really is, it's got to be, one, a strategic initiative of what I'm hearing you say from the top, because it requires a ton of investment to execute a successful partnership program. It can't just be, okay, let's do a partnership and let's just go find people who are going to do it, and they're the people out there, we just want to bring us deals. It's much, much more, because if you're talking about strategic plans, Lou, which I know also Rado's group does, and Sharon from working with them, that's a whole different set of investment than just signing people up and say, okay, yeah, bring us in on a deal there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's terribly strategic for us because we get 80% of our revenue that way.
So it used to be an expertise. Partner would come and have vertical industry expertise, and for the integration business, or to that end, the integrity business or the business intelligence, very important to have it. So all you were worried at this point is, how do I onboard these partners? But something is going on very disruptive with the SaaS vendors, because they're not only providing subject matter expertise on a consultative basis, but they're packaging it in reusable applications. Even the big consulting companies are going and saying, we have all these methodologies, why don't we package them and sell them as a product rather as a consulting services? And now that dramatically changes your involvement in the relationship, because we now have to figure out how much strategic attention we pay to them, because they're building custom products. They are embedding to get faster to market some of our technologies. Very often out of this comes an important change in the technology that we have to decide whether we'll do or not. So on our side, we're seeing a lot more growth in these businesses as they package the application, a lot more revenues coming to them. On the other hand, we're seeing a much bigger burden on us to modify quickly the technology, also to adapt it in a way that these partners can use it quickly in that way. But it also makes the whole platform far richer, and it drives our innovation on a totally different level. So it's disruptive to us, but it's beneficial to everyone.
So, you know, you bring up a good point, because I think what you guys have talked about is, okay, you've got to make an investment. It does take time. It's you know, but it's worth it. But Sharon, talk about what some of the challenges are too, because I think Rado started to allude to some of them. But you know, what are some of the challenges or frustrations, not only for someone who heads up a partnership, but even for an organization in dealing with partners? Because it's not all easy, as we all know. Do you want to comment on that? Because you even mentioned earlier that you tried to learn from all the bad things that you'd learned previously. Why don't you comment on that and how you adjust on that from a corporation standpoint?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. I think one is the alignment. So if you have a partner organization within a company, a software company, that is not aligned with the rest of the organization of how important those partnerships are, then it won't work, and everybody will be extremely frustrated, and I've seen that happen time and time again. And I think some of where that occurs and why that occurs is that a lot of partner organizations get created within a company with a strategy in mind of, okay, we as a company are going to focus on this area. This is our main area of expertise. This is where we see the main piece of our business coming from. This is where the strength of the market is. There's some ancillary other areas that we're getting asked to get into, but we don't really want to focus over there. It's not going to be as profitable for us. It's not, you know, but we don't want to lose out on that area. So we're going to create a partner organization to go after areas that we're not going to focus on. And I've seen that fail over and over again. Why? Because why should a company think that partners are going to be any better at the things that they don't think they're going to be good at than than they are. And that is I think a hole that tends to be driven into quite often. And I think that comes from the fact of not looking at partnerships and the organizations you're going to partner with what they bring to the table, and instead trying to push them into doing things for you that aren't natural. And what I've seen happen to the other side of it, and what I've tried to do at Birst, is to look at the organizations that we're bringing on, understand the value that they provide, understand where their relationships are, what their strengths are, what their expertise is, what other things they're doing in their business outside of anything to do with business intelligence or Birst that is bringing them revenue and success, and then how do we leverage that, and how do we pull those things together to make everybody more successful. That's going to add more market share, more revenue, more reach for Birst, which is the ultimate goal, but doing it in a way that's actually natural versus unnatural. So that's one of the main things that I've seen really, really not work and be a big challenge. But you have to have that alignment from above to be on track with you with regards to that, because many times that they're not. So I've been fortunate here to be able to create that alignment, but it's key.
And how, going back to kind of what Rado said about doing it kind of step by step, is there any tips that you can give to people about, hey, look, maybe, or if you agree, and maybe you disagree with Rado, don't jump full-fledged into a marriage, but do it step by step. Are there any kind of strategics or tactics that you have implemented at Birst that maybe might be good nuggets for people?
Yeah, I'd say that probably we're a little bit contrary to some of the things that have been said, only because maybe we're a little bit smaller, certainly, than some of the other organizations that have been around for a very long time, and have a lot of partnerships out there. We were fortunate to not have partnerships, so we could actually not have to try to take partners that we had in the past and make them work for us, which is challenging because you don't want to necessarily say, well, bye-bye, see ya, you're just not the right kind of partner for us. There's always a little bit of weeding that you go through, but for me, I got to start from nothing. So we got to make sure that we were bringing on partners that made sense. But by doing that, we invested full-fledged. So we expected in those partnerships, when we did decide that it was a mutually beneficial thing to move forward with, that both were going to invest with everything they had to make it work. And to that end, from a vendor or Birst perspective, we came to the table with a lot of opportunities ourselves. I recognize that it's going to be difficult for a new player with us to understand how to position us, how to sell us, how to demonstrate our technology effectively, how to implement it effectively, no matter what training and onboarding that you do, until they actually are in the field doing it. So we do that hand in hand with our partners, and that goes back to the collaborative piece that I talked about before. Partners are very strategic to us, so we have our sales organization working hand in hand, our consulting organization working hand in hand with our partners to make sure that they are successful, especially at the beginning. So
now it's interesting, you had a blank slate at Birst, but you had a lot of experience behind it. Adam, your story is a little bit different in the sense that while you'd worked at Twitter and you'd done some other things prior, you had a blank slate at Dropbox, but maybe not as many years of experience as Sharon. So either comment on how you took a general approach to doing the partnership things, or a year later, what is it that you know now that you wish you knew a year ago or 18 months ago when you were starting it that you think might be good nuggets for people that are kind of in a similar position?
Yeah, I mean, I think that organizationally there's just a lot of people who have stepped up and done a lot without that experience. So it's something that kind of coming in was everybody had comfort with organizationally, and I think that the approach was always, let's go and examine this, figure out what the industry best practices are, and then figure out, what is a lot of stuff that isn't working in the industry or isn't going to be working in the industry in 5 years, and then approach it that way. So, I do think that there is. I do see people who I talk to get caught up in the idea of first principles, which is, it's a good idea. Let's approach things from first principles, but we're not building anything. We're not the first company to figure out, okay, we want to sell this product through partners in an IT channel. So, you go and you find the people who do this best in the world and figure out what it is about their programs that makes them the best in the world, and then try and replicate as much of it with the DNA that you're bringing to the table. almost as dangerous as first principles is just copying exactly what other people have done. So that's the other piece. And I think kind of navigating that is a little difficult, but you have to recognize that Dropbox as a product, let alone Dropbox as a company and a culture, is so meaningfully different than everything that we're talking about here on the table. So there aren't that many other companies that are dealing with this base of users. There aren't, SaaS in general. There haven't been too many companies that have proved how to distribute this well through partners. So that's another place where if you're just going to go and copy an ecosystem that's been built over 20 years in a completely different context and environment, you're going to fail. So I think it's balancing those two and coming together with a organization that's a learning organization and making sure that you're testing, iterating, and figuring out what that best approach is.
But it sounds like the reason why you've been successful with it, though, is again getting back to some other things that everyone else has mentioned, is that it was something that corporate-wide everyone was bought into.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that you have to have that, particularly in partnerships, because there's always going to be the question: how do we collaborate with the direct sales team? Are these partners just there to kind of sign up and do nothing? Do they see us as a vendor? What value are they bringing us? So I think everybody in the organization needs to be on board with that. But presumably, if you have a sound strategy and there is some value being created between you and the partner and the customer, then that will be an easy story to tell.
So I have a question kind of shifting. Well, before I shift focus, are there any questions from the audience right now in reference for these people? Because this is good stuff, and it's not, they're all in alignment because these guys are very savvy at what they do. You don't see that all the time. Is there a question? Yeah. No, I can't hear you. Hold on.
Thank you. I've managed the channel at a couple of jobs in the past, and a couple of things stood out to me. Issues, actually. One was the expectation around leads that we had to pass to them. And many times these partners actually dealt with the competitors too, so there was some pressure to hand out leads to them, and usually that didn't work out very well. And the second problem that I had was visibility into what they were doing with these leads after we passed it over to them, because they would usually come back and enter it into a CRM after the opportunity closed, or very close to when the opportunity closed, and we rarely ever had any visibility into what they were doing. Any thoughts on how you could deal with those two issues?
Yeah, that is a great question, and one of the big challenges in any sort of partnership. Would anyone like to take first stab at it? Sharon, do you want to?
Well, I think you talk about leads coming in versus leads going out and being able to manage and monitor all of that stuff going on, and that's definitely a challenge. I think that the way that we do it internally is we definitely are passing on leads to people who are our best partners, and that doesn't just mean that they're bringing deals to the table. It also means they're investing in the partnership and in other ways, getting their consultant certified, doing business planning with us, doing marketing events with us, different components that feed into that to where we pass out leads. But it's all tracked within our CRM system. We happen to use Salesforce, and we're just actually getting ready to launch an external portal to that to our partners so that they can actually see and have visibility into their own leads, the leads that they bring, the leads that we brought them, and have one kind of record of the truth of what's going on with all those different opportunities and leads. So it's something that's always a constant challenge, because you want to give credit where credit is due, and make sure that you're tracking properly, and that you're also not leaving things on the table on any end. So if a lead gets turned over to a partner and it doesn't get followed up on immediately, or it gets followed up on but there's not really a level of interest that we want, but we want to cultivate that lead, we want to bring it back in and make sure that we're doing everything we can as a full organization with our partners to be able to foster that into an opportunity. So again, for us, it's looking at our partners as an extension of our own sales organization, our own marketing organization, and making sure that we are doing everything with our partners that we would do if it was an opportunity that we were working direct.
So we would do something where we got a lead and we would be happy to pass it off to a partner. We'll help qualify it. We'll help try to get it to the point where it becomes a booking. But if there's any implementation service needed, then that's a means of sort of turning, rather than just throwing that partner a fish, we're helping them to learn how to fish and actually, get comfortable with our technology. Maybe they're a new partner, they brought us a deal, but we say, hey, thank you for that. Here's a lead. We think we can close this together. Start to train that second or that third person, and you learn by, you help them learn and become more competent with your offering.
So, just quickly here, this is a difficult issue, and we have it when partners approach us and say, and that's part of the expectations, as I said, marriage versus a startup. Because many partners come and say, okay, we're going to get into a partnership with you because you have 15,000 active customers worldwide, and your sales force would expose us to us. Well, one thing that I tell them right from the beginning is, first of all, the sales force is not going to listen to you because you just signed up as a partner. They have quotas to sell that are based on our products, on our existing product line, which is extensive. And everything else for them is a distraction. So in essence, what we try to do is we kind of nurture it and say, let's get you successful because success is going to bring you attention. And that's really the key to it. Once I see a successful partnership selling 1, 2, or 3, and we have the ways and we have the channel organization that helps with that, that would go to events together, so we're not considered just as the lead generation for the partner, but we do it together. Mm-hmm. And that helps build the value proposition. Once the salespeople hear that, oh, I just saw the deal with this partner for that, they start immediately referring to it and getting it done. So we're creating more of a community where if you are a proactive partner with us, we're going to facilitate it in any way, but encourage you to build the relationships with the sales organization through working together. Most partners at some point have an expectation, I'm just going to go, and then the CEO is going to call and say, here is a webinar to entire sales force. And even if we do that, they're going to stay on their BlackBerries and not pay attention to that. So it's really working together.
I had a question. I'm really big on active participation in all relationships. So what you were saying about the vendors who are kind of like just passively waiting to take action as opposed to really engaging, do you guys have an example of what that looks like? Like, have any of you talked with a partner who might have been more the traditional profile that you said, here's what I expect? How did they respond? Like, what is an example of one that might have said, oh, okay, and then came back with, here's what I plan to do that's totally different than the more traditional way those relationships can sometimes be. They're not all that way.
I'll try to answer that if I've heard you correctly, and you can certainly ask a follow-on if I don't quite get to your point. One of the things that we try to do is understand the business that the partner's in, right? So understand, really do that SWOT analysis of the partner's business. So we're all on the same page as to what their strengths are, where their opportunities are, for them as a company, having nothing to do with us. And number one, that drives trust in the relationship because I'm not just in it for me, I'm in it for you as a partner. Once we identify that, then we can identify the synergies and the overlap and areas where we can really exploit together to be able to do something different in the market. And then that drives the whole business planning of how are we going to get there? What's it going to take to then drive that particular solution or value into the marketplace that we've identified? And drive that over, say, an annual period of time of, okay, these are what our goals are at the end of the period, and these are what our goals are along the way. And really showing that we are in it for the long term and we're in it on a daily basis with you to make this partnership work. So that's kind of how we've gone about it. And if they're not looking for that type of relationship, then it's probably not a good partnership for either party.
It's more switching the mindset. Like where I see this happening is when a smaller organization hires somebody who has been doing partner marketing with IBM, and they go and say, can I just get the leads from you and then I know what I do, or can you give me marketing dollars to go and market it? And large organizations like IBM does that. We don't find it in our business this to be effective. So like I said, for us, it's more important doing it together. And it's very interesting. I had one example this year of a 50-person company. And I came and said, we know how to use your technology. We don't need anything from you, but just technical advice so we can do the product. And I promise you in a year, I'm going to bring here $3 million to you, to the partnership. and the person did it, and now I cannot fend off the salespeople from the person. I mean, he has all the attention he wants. And we did technically solve all the problems for them. But he said, I know how to market it. I know everything. I need this from you. And I know that after that, you would open all the other channels for me. And that's a great approach. Somebody called it and said, you fed the mothership until you built the business, and then the mothership shifted direction. So very important, a partner to be incredibly proactive rather than just viewing it as, I'm here to get the leads from you.
I think we have time for one more question.
Great. This is specifically for Adam, but I'd love for everybody to chime in. My name's Tom Smith. I'm from Samebox. We have a suite of email productivity tools. So you guys started, I kind of feel like we're on your path, and you guys started, you have people signing up through the automated process online, and then I'm assuming you have a direct selling division, and now the channel as of June of 2013. How are you guys handling the leads, back to the previous question, and just kind of like operations overall?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the way we've looked at it is we wanted to make sure that whoever we're passing leads to it has the capability to handle those leads and do what we want with those leads, right? So you're either, in the event that they're going to be added some services on it, making sure that we have the right partners set up with the experience and the right leads to pass it to them. So we're actually just kind of beta testing this right now. But our kind of long-term view is that these leads either need to go through partners because there's some fulfillment that they provide that you can't provide, or you need to carve out an area of your business for us because we're so self-service in some of these areas of the business that's only for partners, because otherwise the confusion just gets too great. So we're working through that, but it's definitely in progress, and I've seen different models that have worked kind of with different levels of success.
Does anyone else want to comment really quickly, because I know we're past due? The only last comment I would say is that the four members up here on this panel have made it look very, very easy, and it's not very, very easy. In fact, there are companies every day that I come across that think they have the best partnership program in the world, and I know one that touted it being the best and right now is in the midst of blowing it up and starting off from scratch again. So if you do have interest in partnership programs, I encourage you either during lunch or after the panel to grab these people, because they made it sound very easy, and it's really, really not. This is one of the hardest things that any successful software company is going to face with, and we didn't get into the other challenges that are out there, like channel conflict between partners. How do you treat all your children equally so they're all happy and all that other stuff? But these are great people to grab after the panel, because there's some of the few out there that have put together great programs that have been return on investment for their company as well as their partner's company. So thank you guys very much.